So I know that when I'm consuming other people's content, if something negative comes up for me about that person or about myself, like I think to myself, I should be further ahead, or I should have more followers, or I should be doing more in my business, or I should be doing this, or I should be doing that. It's always all the shoulds. Welcome to Confidently Visible, the podcast that helps you move through visibility blocks, including fear, resistance, and overwhelm, to share life-changing work with the world and grow your business and attract more beautifully aligned clients that rave about your work. I'm your host, Beck Sands, a visibility mentor, a certified life coach, and an award-winning PR consultant based in sunny Newcastle, Australia. Let me guide you on how to show up as your unique self, to share your incredible work, and to grow your audience with more consistency, ease, and flow. Whether you are a consultant, an entrepreneur, a CEO, a coach, or a creative, this is the space to unlock your uniqueness, to grow your audience, and to make a bigger impact, all while feeling good about being seen. The world needs to hear your message. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Confidently Visible podcast. It is wonderful to be here with you today. I am going to be discussing comparisonitis, which is a phrase that was coined initially by health coach and podcaster Melissa Ambrosini. And I have read her book Comparisonitis a while back, because it's something that we all do, right? Like, it's impossible as a human not to compare yourself with other people. It is just something that we do naturally because it's part of what we do as social beings, as social creatures. And so it's not something that we can completely stop. But when it becomes a problem is when we start to attribute meaning to those comparisons and think of ourselves as better or worse than other people. And so where we want to get to is this place where we can look around and get inspiration and be happy for other people's success, but not allow it to make us feel bad about ourselves or stop us from increasing our visibility and putting ourselves out there. Now, in the age of social media, more than probably any other time in history, we are literally looking around at other people's lives on a mass global scale, not just our own communities. And we have 24/7 access to be able to look at other people online and compare our lives and ourselves and our businesses to other people. And this can be really, really challenging if we don't get a handle on it. Now, social media can be really inspiring, and you can surround yourself absolutely with what I like to call expanders. So that's people that can expand your vision for yourself and for others. But it can be, it can be kind of challenging when you're surrounding yourself with expanders, not to look at them and go, oh, I wish I was further ahead. I wish I was further ahead. I wish I had as many followers, and you can kind of make assumptions based on that. You can go, clearly that person's got it all figured out. Clearly, they're so much further ahead. Clearly they're doing better, or they know more, or they're better at what they're doing. But you never see the full picture of what's going on behind the scenes. And what I kind of like to think about is that everyone is going through challenges in some big way. Like, I think in life that everyone is faced with the biggest challenges that they need to grow. And it's always personal and unique to that person. But everyone's facing these huge challenges that push them and trigger them in different ways. And so when you're looking around and seeing what you perceive as someone's perfect, glossy life or perfect, beautiful, big, growing, thriving business, there's always going to be something happening behind the scenes that they are struggling with, that they are challenged with. And that is universal across the board. And so I think when we can be happy for other people and for their success, when we can look at those people as expanders or just, simply unfollow, then we can start to really thrive within ourselves and start to look at our own, our own position, our own business, our own visibility as exactly where we need to be for us. So I wanted to kick us off with that, but today I'm going to be sharing about what comparisonitis is, what it actually is, and how it can really impact your visibility. I will be sharing the fine line between that kind of inspiration and disempowerment. Why your nervous system matters a lot when consuming content and why we need to put boundaries around this if we are to grow and thrive. How to really curate your feed for expansion rather than contraction. 5 ways that you can use others' success as a catalyst instead of having it really kill your confidence. Some affirmations and mindset shifts that you can use to come back to yourself and come back to that kind of grounded, energetic state when you need to, when you get out of balance or when you're feeling off track, and why your uniqueness and your own experiences are your most valuable asset that no one can replicate. So I know that when I'm consuming other people's content, if something negative comes up for me about that person or about myself, like I think to myself, I should be further ahead, or I should have more followers, or, I should be doing more in my business, or I should be doing this, or I should be doing that. It's always all the shoulds. Or if I'm feeling like, the only reason that, they're able to do that is because they have more support or they have more time or they have more resources, or any of those negative limiting thoughts that pop up when you are inevitably comparing yourself to others, I now know what to do with that. So I've kind of been able to look at that over the years and realize that that is just showing me a limiting belief about myself, B, something that I personally need to work on and look at in myself, or C, it's showing me where I need to expand next. And so when I can look at it with those lenses, and when I can look at it like, okay, there's something that I need to look at in myself, or there's something that I need to do next, I can then look at it in a much more constructive way rather than spiraling and rather than going, I'm just not good enough. I may as well not even give it a go. I may as well just not even try. And so I think that's where we don't want to get to when it comes to comparisonitis, because we live in a world where we are going to see other people succeed. We are going to see other people doing incredible things. And I love that. Like, I want that. I want to be inspired by other people on my visibility journey. Like, we live in a world where it's all about relationships and connecting with others. And so, it's impossible, particularly if you're building a personal brand business, to completely isolate yourself away from everyone else. And so, yes, you can unfollow if someone's triggering you, and yes, you can mute people, But I always just think like, my feed is full of people that inspire me and that I admire. And if something triggers me, like I see something in them and I go, oh my gosh, I should be further ahead right now, then I just realize that there's something untapped in me that I would like to do next. And so I go, oh, cool. Like, I'm really happy that showed me that, speaking on that particular stage is something that I would love to do, or having that kind of business is something that I would love to do, or, having that kind of lifestyle is something that I would like to put on my vision board, or being in, a certain level of health and fitness. Oh, that's something that I would love to aspire to. And so I think if you're triggered by someone else, it can just really be that beautiful mirror showing you where you want to go next and what you want to do next in terms of your goals. And so I think if you can look at it like that, that's a much more constructive way to look at it than going into that really deep spiral. Because when you spiral, that's when it can prevent you from showing up fully as yourself. It can put you into a state where you're overthinking every single little piece of content that you put out, or you're overthinking every single offer that you put out. And if you're in business, this is quite dangerous because business rewards people that show up and move quickly and try new things and iterate and evolve quite quickly. Even when you're in the middle of launching something or you're in the middle of putting out a new offer, what's important is to test that offer. Yes, having a strategy is so important. Having a strategy is absolutely key because it just means that you've thought out in advance, who your target audience is, what your messaging is, what you're going to put out and when, why you are doing specific things to launch that offer, why you're putting out a certain offer, who's going to be interested in it and why, when you're going to do this, at what stage and how. All of those things are part of a strategy, but at the end of the day, it's hard to know if things are going to work until you literally just put it out there and try. Even in the most recent launch of the online consultant that I did a 3-day challenge, right? So create the vision for your consulting business. Spent so much time on this challenge. It was really great. Like I had some people sign up and hosted and delivered that and recorded it and put that out there and loved hosting it. But then the following week, I also just thought, okay, based on some feedback that I'd had, I think people want to know what the biggest challenges that I had in my business were. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to set up a webinar this week, just last minute, like it was the final week of launch. And I thought, I'm just going to talk through some of the biggest challenges that I had when starting my consulting business and what you can avoid. So some of the biggest mistakes I made, the biggest challenges, and what you can do instead and what I learned. So my biggest lessons to shortcut that process for everyone else. It was just a 1-hour virtual coffee chat on Zoom. And I had so much interested in that. Like so many people interested in that. Okay. So I could never have foreseen that before putting it out there. I mean, it makes sense. People are interested in what mistakes I made to shortcut that process for them. But I could not have envisaged before that more people would be interested in the virtual coffee chat than in the challenge itself. And so I was like, I didn't have heaps of people sign up to the virtual coffee. Like I had people sign up, but I didn't have a lot of attendees on the day, which was actually quite beautiful because I was able to go quite deep with the people that did show up on the call. But I had a lot of signups to my list and a lot of interest and people saying, I'm so sorry, I can't make this one, but I really want to come to the next one. And it was quite a good engagement driver. It was quite good at like drumming up people for my email list, as well as just interest and awareness of the types of services that I provide and the offerings that I have. And so like I said, I could never have foreseen that until I actually iterated and tested and put offers out into the market. And so my point here is coming back full circle is that if you're so busy consuming others' content and comparing yourself to them, or even worse, trying to copy people, never try and copy, never try and copy, you're not going to be focused on iterating and putting out offers and testing in the marketplace, which is so key to growing your business. So when I say don't copy people, what I mean there is literally like, don't try and copy people. I've definitely had people copy me in my business, which I guess is a beautiful compliment. But, it never works because it's not your energy. So what I know to be true is that, there's only really a certain number of creative ideas, and most things have been done before. Most things are iterations of concepts that are already out there. But the difference is that it's got your unique lens on it, and it's got your unique experiences and personality and strengths and your unique lens, right? And so I think this is such a great way to look at it. Instead of kind of going, okay, I'm going to copy someone else's success, it's like, sure, you can use other blueprints for success. I mean, I myself teach blueprints for success. I teach methodologies. I teach ways of working. But what you need to do instead of just copying someone else is use that as inspiration and then put your own unique lens on it. Because if you think about it, just everything is a version of something else before it. Even like some of the great books, like I know even, it's Atomic Habits by James Clear. I feel like that's like a very, very popular book. Brilliant concepts, but all those concepts already existed. So he wasn't coming up with those concepts. It's just he was putting his own unique lens on it and his unique teachings and experience. And so I think when we're, caught in that trap of comparing with others or of, looking at other people and going, the only way that I can get there is to do that exact same thing, or they've got a secret that I don't know, so therefore I've got to implement exactly the way that they do, that can be such a trap, and it doesn't need to be. You don't need to do that. Okay, so yeah, instead of comparing myself to others that I would see, because there's always going to be someone who is better than you or better off than you, and someone who is worse off than you. It's just always going to be the way. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, it doesn't matter whether that's health, whether that's fitness, whether that's business, whether that's playing an instrument, whether that's playing a sport, whether that's doing a certain task like speaking or whatever. Like, there's always going to be someone who is better than you, or who has more hours of experience, or who has more credentials, or who has more followers, or whatever. There's always going to be someone better than you, but there's always going to be someone worse off than you as well. And so it's none of your business. It doesn't matter. Staying in your own lane is what matters. Okay, so instead of comparing myself, I use other people's successes as inspiration and count them as expanders in my life. Okay. And I wish them well. I really wish them so well, because I know that if I were to wish anything negative upon anyone else in that way, I know that it would only detract from my journey. So when you're, thinking negatively about someone else in that way, it's just going to hold you back. You're the only person that's going to impact. And so it's so important to look at other people's success and to look at other people's achievements and to kind of go, yes, like, yeah, I may want that for myself one day as well, but I wish that person well, and just kind of go like, wow, how were they able to achieve that? That's amazing. Like, look at what they've been able to do. That's something that's unrealized and untapped in myself too, and maybe one day I could have that as well. So reframe that and use it to actually spur you along in your visibility journey and in your business. Okay. So let's change gear. So let's look at, if you do go into that kind of contracting comparison state, like let's say you're stuck in a vortex where you go into that like Insta scroll and you're stuck there and you're like, oh God, why did I get into this again? It happens to me all the time. I do have to put really, really strong boundaries around my social media use for that reason. But even still, I get stuck in the scroll, right? So if you do get stuck in that scroll, then there is, generally speaking, there is a bit of a spiral that happens next. There's a bit of a visibility spiral where you're comparing yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, in all elements of your relationships and lifestyle and everything with other people, right? Which can create hiding. It can create freezing, so just not taking action. And it can create perfectionism, so where you think like, oh, there's no way that I could show up until I have X, or until I look like X, or until I sound like X, or until, insert whatever that comparison is for you. So how you can start to shift back is to just be aware. That's the first step here. So the first thing is just pause and to be aware of how you're feeling and what's coming up for you. So you can ask yourself, so is this expanding or contracting my energy? Is this expanding or contracting my energy? And so generally, if it's contracting, it's like you start to feel worse and worse, right? And you start to, like, those niggling little inner critic thoughts about yourself come up. And so if it's expanding, you start to go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I could share like this type, that gives me an idea for the type of content that I could share as well. Or that gives me an idea for this new business offering that I could do. Or, what a great place to visit. That really inspires me to one day travel to that place. There's so many different ways that can be an expansion for you, an inspiration for you. So just check in on your energy and how you're feeling about it, and just start to become a little bit more aware, particularly if you're scrolling a lot, which I know can happen when we're building personal brand businesses, because we're looking around to kind of gauge where we're at and to see, okay, how far do I need to go? How many times do I need to post? Like, who else is in my industry? What do I need to do to create a successful business, right? So there is going to be an element of scrolling. So before you scroll as well, maybe just have an intention for that. So it's like you're going on, what are you doing? So I like to go on to social media with the intention to engage with others. And so that to me looks like, answering and replying to any DMs and comments that are there. It also means going onto other people's social posts as well and commenting and liking and sharing. Because you can't just appear in a vortex on social media and expect all of, the engagement and the relationship building, unless you're a celebrity, of course, in which case, absolutely, you can just post and then go off social media and then you're done. But generally speaking, it is a way of building relationships and a way of connecting with other people, right? And so what you want to be doing is making sure that you are liking and sharing and commenting and engaging with other people's content. And then that will be reciprocated in kind. People will come onto your content and people will, engage as well, because it's all about those relationships. But you can also go on a bit of a content diet and you can mute, unfollow, anyone that's triggering you, or you feel like I just can't right now. Like I remember when I was going through IVF and doing like this huge fertility journey. And I was like, I just need to not be consuming the content of other people going through that right now. Like I was going through my own journey and I was getting support, but I was just like, I just can't see other people going through that at the moment. And so I just muted or unfollowed accounts that were about that journey for then. So you can see how if you do need to, if something's triggering you, then absolutely just, even for a short period of time, just put them on mute. And then you can use that kind of inspiration as a data point. So what about this excites me? If something is inspiring you, or if something is, making you laugh or double tap or whatever, what is it about this that excites me? What is it about this that I want to, take into my life and implement? What about this can I do something about? What can I put on my vision board? What can I add to my goals list? And so on and so forth. Okay, so that is a way that you can start to shift from contraction, from that kind of place where you're spiraling and feeling bad about yourself, into more of an expansion state and into more of that inspiration and place of action as well. Okay, let's move on to some of the ways that you can be inspired by others. So I love to save posts that inspire me. So I've got little private folders in my Instagram, for example, and if something's really inspiring to me, or I'm like, yep, that gives me an idea for my visibility, or, I could do some speaking around a similar topic to that. So I will save those into a little bit of a folder on a certain topic and use that to inspire me moving forward. Okay. The second thing is to focus on what's possible for you, not what you're lacking. And so I think this is, something I've spoken about throughout this episode a lot already. But, when you're focusing on what is possible rather than what you don't have enough of, that's going to support you in moving forward and taking action and showing up to be more visible. The third thing you can do to be empowered and inspired by others is to reflect on your own journey and what makes your message different to that person. So when you hear someone else's message, you can reflect on what is it about you that you can be more visible around that is unique to you. So for example, you might be getting content ideas from vertical industries to you. So I love watching, for example, health accounts on Instagram. And so sometimes it gives me ideas for what I can speak about when it comes to visibility. So look at how can you apply your own uniqueness to what you're doing and what you're creating. The fourth thing is to celebrate others without diminishing yourself. And again, that's something that I've spoken about throughout this episode. But really, you taking the opportunity instead of looking at other people and, thinking, I wish I had that, or they've only got that because of X. Instead of that, use it as an opportunity to celebrate them and to go, oh, good on her, good on him. They have done so well. That is amazing and inspiring and expanding for me. And the fifth thing that you can use to be inspired by others is to use it to fuel action. So turn it into a creative spark. What are you going to do next? How can you get inspired and use that as a way to take action next? So if someone's got a lot of Instagram followers, for example, okay, what are they doing? How can you use that as inspiration to build your own following? But put your own unique take on it. Like I, have never been a fan of dancing reels, for example, but I love speaking to video. And so I'm like, great, I'm going to use that and I'm going to implement that on the topics that I know my audience wants to hear about. All right. So I need to wrap this up shortly, actually, because we've gone over time, but your next visibility action steps. So choose one person that inspires you, that you follow or that you're connected with, and write down why. And then write down 3 ways that your voice is different to theirs. So what is it that you're bringing to your content that is completely unique? And then take action today. So share a piece of content that reflects your unique voice. So just a final little piece of encouragement for you today. So the world doesn't need a carbon copy of someone else. The world absolutely needs to hear your unique voice and to see your face. And the world needs your unique inspiration and experiences and stories and learnings. So come back to why you're doing all this for. What is it that you're uniquely building? Stop comparing yourself to others because you're on your own path and you're on your own unique journey. And I'm so here for it. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for listening. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Have the best day. Thank you for tuning in to Confidently Visible. I hope today's conversation inspired you to show up boldly, to share your unique gifts with courage, and to move through the visibility blocks that are holding you back. If you loved this episode, make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. And if you're ready to become confidently visible in your business, head over to becksands.com to join my email list and to connect on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Until next time, keep showing up as the amazing, unique you that the world needs.